is Michael McGuigan, and I am the owner of Nomadic Insights. I just wanted to take a moment to discuss paid surveys and what you can expect to earn from paid surveys. There are several varieties of survey websites, so I want to go over what kinds of survey websites exist, as well as the different incentives you can expect to receive when you take surveys. So, our flagship survey product at Nomadic Insights is nomadicsurveys.com. So, on Nomadic Surveys, we receive from clients usually $2 to $3 per complete. That's very common with paid surveys. If it's coming through an API, it's lower. I think the median value I've seen is like $1.44. So that's what I get. And then you're probably wondering, how does that translate to what do you get? So usually we'll pay 70%, 60 to 70% of that amount out to a panelist in incentives. Other companies will usually only pay 30% out. So you can imagine that a lot of the incentive values you're seeing are extremely low. On the consumer side, it's usually only a couple dollars an hour that you can reasonably expect. In a lot of cases, Survey Junkie and Branded in particular, you're lucky if you get more than $2 to $3 an hour on one of those sites that competes with us. We are working to raise consumer incentives. It's just a little bit of a race to the bottom at the moment, where you have surveys being filled. eh, the quality of those answers is dubious, but people are still completing the surveys, and it's at a very low price point where one begins to question, who's actually the real person taking the surveys, for a 30-minute survey for 20 cents. I mean, that's absurd. And, I do see some of those values that come in through some of our API integrations. I am working to kill those, but, I go on to Branded, I go on to Survey Junkie. Those are the values I see, along with Swag Bucks. So it's not like these other competitors of ours are paying you radically more for your time. Now, moving on from there, there are survey websites that pay $100 per hour. These are usually patient or executive network survey products. So if you're looking for a good side hustle, I recommend websites, you know, like Rare Patient Voice, that pay $120 per survey hour. It's a really cushy gig when you get those kinds of surveys. It's just the always available, always ready kind of inventory is much more limited on a consumer survey website. As you can imagine, the things that drive those incentives are really related to scarcity. So, with that scarcity in mind, the more scarce something is, the more people are willing to pay for it. So, it really does follow supply and demand. So, I pay C-level executives $1,000 per hour, for a phone call. So the market research industry, does have really good incentives. This can be a very lucrative way for you to earn money on the side. It's just, you need to be aware that when you're on a consumer survey website, like Nomadic Surveys, our our value is just a lot lower, because you know our surveys are for people who are members of like the general population. And while we're paying a cash incentive, we're competing with websites that pay people, in virtual currencies or something like that, where there's game monetization. That is a big way surveys get completed these days. So I just wanted to take this video to just kind of explain, what can you expect to make from online surveys. Realistically, a consumer survey product pays a couple dollars an hour right now. We are working, you can check out my blog post on how we're working to fix the survey industry in 2024, as well as the recent video I did, if you're interested in learning more about our fight for fair incentives. again, I got a hard time believing, 30 cents for 30 minutes qualifies as a fair incentive. So that is really our big push on the consumer survey side is, what is a fair incentive for a consumer to participate in a survey? And how do we raise awareness among clients around fair incentives to get more money in your pocket? So again, thank you so much for insights, and oh, there's the dogs.